teraz by som rada na stage pozvala Pekku Tahkolu. Pekka prišiel z fínskeho mesta Oulu, ktoré sa považuje za hlavné mesto sveta v zimnej cyklodoprave, pretože leží takmer na polárnom kruhu. Má dlhé zasnežené zimy, no aj vďaka dobrej údržbe je tu zimná cyklistika úplne bežná vec. Dnes nám priblíži, ako môžeme vytvárať podmienky pre cyklodopravu počas celého roka a čo nám to môže priniesť.
So I'm really happy to be here back in Ternava. Because, I was here last year and I was really impressed with this city. It's, I would say, one of the nicest cities I've ever been in Europe, for example, and I wasn't expecting it to be in Slovakia. So, and one more thing that I'm really happy about Trnava is that you can actually see around here because Oulu is so far in the north that it's pretty dark there. So this is a live webcam image from Oulu. Anyway, so Oulu is located right next to the world-famous town of Tyrnävä. Yeah. You can Google it. It's there. Yeah. So a friend of mine used to work for the mail office, and almost every week they had to send mail intended to Tyrnävä back to Slovakia from Tyrnävä. And this is no joke. He and his mates were wondering if the mail office in Ternava gets lots of mail intended for Finland. So, I don't know. Maybe. Anyway. So, how many of you have seen this photo? Or some variation of it? Okay, now there's a lot more of you. So, this is Metsäkangas Elementary School in the far suburbs of Oulu. It's about 10 kilometers from the city center. It was minus 31 in this morning, so minus 40 wind chill. And what you see here is just one of the parking lots of this school, and there's 3 others. So it's not about the cold. It's about the safe infrastructure and excellent maintenance. It's no rocket science. But let's watch a short motivational video. Do we have the sound? Yeah. So, city of Oulu, northern Finland. It is a car-infested, sprawled, suburban hellscape type of a sad excuse of a city with decent bicycle infrastructure. So this is afternoon rush hour traffic nearby this school that you just saw, some 10 kilometers away from the downtown, and this is pretty much the worst urban sprawl area. And it might be difficult to believe when you're looking at this. So it's kids riding and walking home from school on their own, just one of the dozens of routes where the kids are dispersing. So it's really difficult to get like a video where you could have all the kids because they go every single direction, so it's not possible. So this is just a small fraction of them. So according to the principal, out of the 1,200 students, about 1,000 cycle to school, even in winter. 100, 150 walk, some ski, some kick sled, and some few poor unfortunate souls are driven in by car. And how is it possible, you ask? Well, it's also possible to access the school by car, but only via one dead-end route. So if you want to drive your kids to school, you actually have to take extra effort to go around and actually access it, because it's much faster, safer, and more convenient to walk there or cycle. And almost never you even have to cross a street on dedicated cycle paths, which are like top priority in maintenance. So this school has been so immensely popular that they have had to expand it many times, and naturally with a lot of bike parking. So winter and weather, they are not the issues. Kids do not complain about the weather. It's us adults who are setting the restrictions. Kids will cycle and walk when you give them the safe opportunity to do so. And it's even better if you make it interesting or downright exciting. So you'll see all possible types of bikes: regular, upright, single speed, granny bikes, mountain bikes, even an occasional fat bike and an e-bike. So anything that moves works. There's absolutely no need for any special gear. It's quite rare to even see any studded tires. That's because snow inherently is not slippery. Ice is, sure, and the maintenance here works very well. So these kids are no heroes. Neither are we. We people in Oulu are absolutely no hardcore people. We are just regular wimps, blessed with good infrastructure and good maintenance. We are lazy, we take the easiest form of transportation, and quite often that's bicycles. Because in Oulu, we have managed to make cycling fast, easy, and comfortable. These are the three key factors of getting people to do something you want. Make it fast, easy, and comfortable, and people would do it. So it's always been like that, people are saying in Oulu. Yeah, it's very simple, or at least it can be very simple. But it's all but for granted. So it takes serious understanding, personal experience, and commitment from all the levels from education to city planning and decision making. And being in Finland, it's simply not possible to be happy about things like this. So instead, I have to complain that these bike racks suck. Anyway, in Oulu, 77% of our population uses a bicycle at least sometimes, and 42% in the wintertime. And yesterday, we were talking about gender distribution. So in Oulu, out of all trips, 55% are made by women on bicycle, and 45% of bicycle trips are made by men. And the most likely group to cycle is? Any guesses? Absolutely. Kids, 6 to 17 years old, make 40% of the trips. And the second most likely group is the women, young women from 18 to 34 years old, and the third group would be women 35 to 54 years old. So it's slightly different than in Netherlands. Maybe we haven't had the e-bike boom as high yet. Maybe it will change the things. Anyway, in Oulu, we've got almost 1,000 kilometers of segregated, safe routes, which are always physically separated from motor traffic. We have only 600 meters of on-street bike lanes in the entire city, and about 1,000 kilometers of separated, segregated, different level bicycle infrastructure. All of them are illuminated, and all of them are maintained at top priority. So you can just go everywhere you want, perhaps 99% of your journey on bicycle infrastructure only, often without even encountering motor traffic at all, or just very little of it. And it's often also faster and shorter than by car. So for as long as I remember, bicycle paths have been the top priority when it comes to maintenance over motor traffic. But we wanted to do even better, especially when our winters started to change. So they say that we have cold and easy and stable winters in Oulu, so maintenance is easy. Yeah, last time I was told so was actually yesterday here. So the other year I was counting 16 days in January alone when the temperature went above zero and also below zero. So that's when it's hardest for maintenance, of course, when the temperature is fluctuating. And this is the same schoolyard in Slovakian winter weather. And this is this winter in December. It's already 2 p.m., so most of the kids have already left the school to go back home. So anyway, last winter we were lucky, and we had a really good winter where... Does it work? Anyway, we had a really good winter here in the Nordics in October already. Even the sea froze already on the last days of October, so I was actually able to ride on the sea on my bike in October for the first time ever in my life. Then it melted. So this year too, yeah, we had a good winter in October for a few days that it melted. We got another winter, it melted. In early December, we got winter again. That lasted for 2 weeks, and just before New Year's, it all melted again. I've never seen this happen before. And then we had a good winter for almost 2 weeks, and the weather forecast after that looked like this. So, in January. Anyway, what are we doing? So, we are doing maintenance, and we are doing a lot of it, and we are doing it fast. Effective. And of course, the infrastructure must enable fast and effective maintenance, free of obstacles, smooth surfaces in summer too. And of course, that's good for all types of traffic that requires obstacle-free transportation and corridors. So, there's often a layer of hardpacked snow because we are not obsessed with bare asphalt, but it's not groomed or intentionally accumulated. We keep it thin. So at best, it's so thin that when it melts, it's not going to be any kind of problem. But you can imagine if you let it accumulate, like 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters thick, and then it starts to melt or soften, that's going to be a nightmare to ride on. So 11 years ago, my colleague Timo and we came up with a separate maintenance contract idea of most important city and regional bicycle routes and bicycle routes alone in this one single contract, where quality and customer satisfaction matter over everything, and that we need to understand that maintenance is first and foremost a customer service business. So we've got winter maintenance agents. I believe we have a couple of winter maintenance agents here already too. So voluntary people who cycle on these routes on regular basis, and they give anonymous feedback on regular basis on the maintenance quality. Timo is not here yet, is he? But when you see Timo, you might ask if he still has some stickers left. Because if anybody wants to be an agent, you could ask Timo and have him give some stickers to you. But that would mean that you would have to move to Oulu and cycle there regularly, of course. What a horrible fate that would be. Anyway, so based on this agent's satisfaction, the contractor gets either bonuses or sanctions. Usually bonuses, because they are really happy. So customer satisfaction or winter maintenance, so I think the national average is about 3. So even before we started this, the pointer doesn't work, again. So even before we started the contract, we started it here. And this was the base level where we were comparing the customer satisfaction. Also, we changed the contractor here, and there was a huge difference here. Anyway, the customers, the people, the regular people who are riding there on a regular basis on this path, and also walking, are so happy that this local beginner-focused cycling group collected money together to buy a custom-made bicycle cake to the maintenance contractor. So I don't know if this kind of a thing has ever happened anywhere in the world, but if yes, I would love to know. Anyway, there's currently 166 kilometers of bicycle path in this one contract alone, and they are under 24/7 extra super hyper quality maintenance. 24/7. So whenever there's 2 centimeters of new snow, it needs to be gone within 3 hours. 4 centimeters must never be reached, even for a second. That means that they will continue plowing 24/7 if needed. When the snowfall continues, they'll plow and plow and plow and plow. And naturally, of course, the rest 800 kilometers, which are here in the map, they're not visible on the map, but if I would draw the other 800 kilometers of bicycle paths here, you wouldn't actually understand anything from the map because it would be so full of bicycle paths. Anyway, they are also maintained at top priority as well. So there's currently 4 different classifications of bicycle routes. So there's the super maintenance class, there's the regular first class, there's the second class, and then there's the third class of priority, depending on how important routes they are. So from the public real-time maintenance system, tracking system, I've counted a maximum of 32 times when a single bicycle path has been plowed within 24 hours. Sure, some paths are so wide that they do need a couple of plows to get the whole thing done. But anyway, we haven't got any time to wait for a snowfall to end. We have things to do, and we have to run a city. And of course, for that, we need data too. So in the city, there's 48 bicycle counters currently, and all of them are open data. So you can do whatever you want with the data and so on. And of course, the contractors, the tractor drivers, all the supervisors, they need to ride on the very same paths that they are maintaining themselves. Of course, because that is customer service basics. You need to know the product that you are selling. So just imagine any other type of service and product where the people selling the product would have actually no idea what the end users think about it. So this is like, we are really trying to change the mindset here. And of course, we can also check when and where they have been cycling on these routes from the public tracking system. So, in the wintertime, many path markings might be hidden by snow. And so in addition to regular traffic signs, we're using these simple projected symbols to help people to remember which side to walk and which side to cycle on. Innovation and design from Oulu, but then again, very simple. They are just attached to illumination light poles, and they turn on whenever the illumination is on. Anyway, I could talk about these details for hours and hours and bore you to death, but we are organizing Oulu Winter Urbanism Masterclasses, where you can see, learn, and experience it all with your own eyes and your own legs. So we had the previous masterclass last week. We had participants from Alaska and from Canada and Estonia and Finland also. And the next ones are scheduled for end of August and next February. So we can also arrange them on custom schedules. If you want to come, just let us know and we'll arrange it for you. Anyway, you can check that on masterclass.city. So talking about details, here is a tiny one. This is the plow, and the carbide hardened metal teeth are 16 millimeters from each other, from sensor to sensor. Anyway, so I'm also building a 400-kilometer single-track network of trails inside the city for easy access hiking, trail running, walking, and mountain biking, connecting residential areas, schools, daycares, sports facilities, and natural destinations. And you can also use it for commuting, but that is all a topic for a completely different talk. So how have we gotten to this utopian situation in Oulu, you ask? So our city started growing rapidly in the 1960s, and the city hired its first ever traffic engineer. And luckily, they chose this guy, Mauri Myllylä, who understood the importance of walking and cycling. It was not an easy task for him, but he had actually studied in the US and was devastated by what he saw back then already in the late 50s, early 60s. So 1960s and 1970s were the strongest era of automobilization in Finland. And at times, he would only be allowed to use 10 minutes per day for walking and cycling and everything else for cars. But he was so persistent, should I even say cunning, that he came up with ingenious ways of workarounds, such as reasoning the cycling network as a backup for energy crisis and using numerous underpasses as bomb shelters during the Cold War period. It's both hilarious and sad and genius at the same time. One of his greatest achievements was the 1971 bicycle master plan. What is crucial here is that he pushed through a winter-proof network of totally separated and far away from motor traffic in its own traffic corridors, taking shortcuts to parks and going through districts and not following the arterial roads. It wasn't easy because they said that nobody will dare to use them. They are too dangerous because they are away from motor traffic. There's like social insecurity there. I'm so happy that he managed to stand his ground, and also it was never an option not to maintain bicycle paths, not even in the 60s. So one of his most important principles was that every single part of the bicycle infrastructure, including the underpasses, needs to be able to be maintained with a regular-sized tractor. But some of our underpasses originate from 1960s, and since the size of tractors has grown dramatically since then, it's sometimes difficult to get modern tractors fitting through them. So he faced a lot, and I mean a lot of criticism. So if you sometimes feel that you are fighting the windmills, just imagine how it must have been back then. So thanks to his long-term dedication and the hard work he did from 1960s until late 1980s, the tradition of cycling didn't die completely in Oulu like it did in so many Western cities. So like I said, today 77% of our population rides bikes at least sometimes. And thousands of people benefit from his work every day without probably ever realizing it, physically and mentally. In Oulu, of course, but probably nowadays all over the world, because many people know about Oulu, and it's an inspiration to many people around the world. So I can't thank him enough, really. So now you're saying that we started in the 1960s, so it takes ages to get where we wanted to go. But then again, it was a really difficult and really slow task for him back in the 60s and 70s. But after Mauri retired in the early 1990s, the ambition almost died in our city, and almost no progress was made for like 20 years, or 25 years even. Sure, building bicycle infrastructure whenever city was expanding was already like included automatically everywhere, so we had more and more bicycle infrastructure, but it was like built the same way it had always been done, which is like the original sin in traffic planning, do. We know how we are doing these things. We've always done it this way. There's no need to change anything. Anyway, let me tell you a story. So a couple of years ago, I was hanging out in this one local bike shop. It was January, about -20, talking with my friends who own the bike shop. And so there's this older gentleman who comes into the bike shop, and my friend goes out to help him. A couple of minutes later, he comes back and asks me, can you believe that guy was 91 years old? And he was shopping for a new bicycle for his girlfriend, who was only 82. So, trying to spread the message about our heartwarming cycling culture, and especially winter cycling culture, is and was one of the reasons my colleague Timo and I, with the help of many others, we organized the first ever winter cycling conference in Oulu 12 years ago. So back then, the city didn't originally back us up, and we had ended up doing it at our own tiny company's own financial risk, wondering if anybody would show up. Well, 150 people did, from 11 different countries. Even then, we thought that it would be a one-off event. But then a guy named Anders from Winnipeg wanted to organize the next conference, 2014, in Winnipeg. Then Leeuwarden, Minneapolis, Montreal, Moscow, Calgary, Joensuu, and last year we were in Edmonton. And next year will be announced soon, so that will be at wintercycling.org. Also, there's at least 3 people in this conference from these 2013 photos. Anybody recognize them? There's one guy laughing there. So, we are also hoping to see all of you in Oulu someday. We are hoping to be back there with the Winter Cycling Congress some year, maybe. So, even if Oulu might sound like a dream, a utopia, I want to encourage you. It's possible, it exists, it's economically feasible. The added cost of our super maintenance class, the extraordinary quality that we are getting, is less than €1 per capita per year. And besides, you should never even think about winter maintenance of active transportation as a cost. It is an investment. It is a really profitable investment to health and well-being of us all. Because as we've heard from previous presentations, we are being more passive than ever. So it's also more polarized than ever. Some people move excess amounts, including myself. And there's a lot of people who exercise a lot. Many still don't actually move. Many people lack the low-intensity movement almost completely, and that's what we get from walking and cycling, even some of your journeys. That's what would build your basic endurance, the resistance on which you could build not only exercise, but your whole life. And still, many people don't move almost at all, as you probably all well know. Oh yeah, forgot that this was a video that should have been there on the top. Anyway, so this is just suburban afternoon traffic. They had ski lessons, it seems. So, in our modern society, only about 10 people get enough exercise or movement, and only 20% of kids. We spend 90% of our lives indoors, like here. That's scary, and it's sad. So many parents are driving their kids around to school, to sports practices, to everything, thinking of well-being of their kids. And enabling access to various physical activities can be a great thing, don't get me wrong. But by driving our kids around, we are actually often giving our kids a disservice, a medvedje služba. Yeah. So by teaching them into a passive lifestyle, but teaching them that driving is the way to go everywhere, not teaching them an active lifestyle and not teaching them independence. A bit over 100 years ago, when automobiles were introduced, people were afraid of them. In some places, a person with a red flag would be required to walk in front of a car to warn people, which would of course seem ridiculous now. But somehow the whole scenario has turned upside down, and instead of cars, we seem to be afraid of kids. So seriously, what kind of a society have we created when kids have to dress up to be a crossing of a traffic sign and a Christmas tree just to go outside? So what we are doing to our kids is frightening. This was an interesting study a few years ago by Marco Hüttenmoser and Daniel Sauter. So these kids were asked to draw a picture of how their trip to school looks like, how they experience it. So William here walks to school. There's a lot of happy stuff here, flowers, trees, nature, other kids. Beautiful, bright colors. Overall, a very delightful picture. And Samuel is driven to school in the car. This is mental, literally. So what are we doing to our kids? So one year I was invited to visit the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana, Nur-Sultan, Astana, whichever it is nowadays. My host told me taking her kid home from the daycare takes her 2 hours over a distance of 6 kilometers. You could almost crawl faster. So we should be doing everything we can to build societies where moving around by your own muscle power is not only the most appealing, but it's the most seductive way of moving around, where it's fast, easy, and comfortable, and safe. And we should be doing even more to build societies where kids can move safely and independently around the year, because childhood is the time when we plant the seeds and teach and encourage kids to learn an active lifestyle instead of a passive one. Thank you.
Thank you, Pekka. Teraz máme aj priestor na nejaké otázky z publika. Ak máte, zdvihnite ruku, prinesieme vám mikrofón. Nech sa páči.
Thank you for amazing presentation. And I have a question about the cost, because you said that it costs just €1 per person. And it seems to me that it's like completely nothing. So that's the total cost, or that's just some...
No.
My question is, what's the total cost of the maintenance?
Okay. So that was the added cost of the super maintenance class, so compared to the regular maintenance. So currently, the investment for the super maintenance class is about €3,200 per kilometer. So it's a few €100,000 for the super maintenance class annually, which comes up to like, let me calculate, like €2 or €3 per capita for the super maintenance class, and then the regular maintenance in addition to that, which is about, it's less than €10 per capita. Yeah. So in total, it's about €10 per capita per year for the bicycle network maintenance of about 1,000 kilometers of bicycle paths. I'm calculating this quickly in my head, so I could be off.
Yeah, for person is okay for me, thanks. So €10 per person. That's so cheap.
It is cheap, and it's really profitable investment. And so it's not about money either.
Máme ešte nejakú otázku? Nech sa páči.
Potvrdzuje sa jedna vec, že statická doprava generuje dynamickú. Keď my vytvoríme miesto na parkovanie, tak tým pádom podporujeme to, že ľudia tú dopravu budú využívať. Ja by som dal otázku do pléna. Kto z vás vie o tom, že zamestnávateľ je povinný vytvoriť miesto na uloženie bicyklov pre svojich zamestnancov? Viete o tom, že je to v zákonníku práce ako povinnosť zamestnávateľa? A koľko zamestnávateľov skutočne tú povinnosť si plní? Čiže pokiaľ my nevytvoríme tieto, platí to aj u vás? Platí aj u vás, že zamestnávateľ je povinný, alebo že školy sú povinné vytvoriť tie miesta na parkovanie. Platí to aj u vás? To je jedna z prvých otázok.
So I don't think that was a question for you, but a question for everyone.
Is the law in your country
Whether you have that law as
Yeah.
well.
So the parking bylaws were updated last time 2014, and even before that, they were mandating bicycle parking spaces in apartments and in industrial and workplaces and so on. But in 2014, they were upgraded to even better standard. So all the bicycle parking needs to be accessible. It needs to include cargo bike parking. And it depends on the type of the building, whether it's residential and where it's located, whether it's an apartment building, whether it's row houses, and so on. And also when it's outside, when it's for businesses, at least 50% of it needs to be with the possibility to lock your bike from the frame and needs to be covered and so on. So there's a lot of details about this. Even mandating, like if you have an indoor storage for your bikes, we need to remember what's the difference between bicycle parking and bicycle storage. Those are two different things. So bicycle storage, also the doors need to be so wide that they can take a legal cargo bike maximum, which is 125 centimeters wide. So we need to even mandate this.
Ešte jednu otázku mala Angela.
Thank you, Pekka, for your inspiring presentation. You showed a graph of, about customer satisfaction, and you said like, oh yeah, here we changed the contract and people got more excited or better reviews. What did you change in the contract?
Yeah. So originally the contract was drafted by me and Timo, but for the final contract, when it was first contracted out, we were actually not included in the final process. And the contract included some relics from the past. And the new contractor who happened to win it at the time was the big national company who was not that much interested actually in changing the culture, changing the mindset. Sure, they improved this customer satisfaction a little bit, but they were not like putting their heart into it. And so for the next round, after 3 years that we suffered with this contract, yeah, it was a little bit better than what it was before that. So suffered is perhaps a little bit of a strong word. But for the next round, me and Timo got our say. We got a much improved contract. And we got a good contractor also who is with us now for 4+3 years, so a total of 7 years. So this winter and 2 more winters with the same contractor. But what is also crucial here that when we are making and planning these contracts, you need to start thinking about them early enough. So oftentimes people are calling our company, me and Timo, like half a year before a contract is supposed to start. So can you help us with planning this contract and these documents? And that's way too late. For things like this where you need to change a lot of things and where you need to change that, when you want to change the mindset and culture, you need to start at least 2 years earlier. And you need to be constantly thinking throughout this contract what we will improve for the next contractor. Because we also were a little bit of a lucky with this contractor, that we got a local small-ish business who really want to do good stuff, good quality and so on. But next time we might not be so lucky, so we need to be sure with the contract documents that we get the quality that we want. So we need to demand the quality and we need to control the quality also so that we get the quality that we want.
Posledná otázka. Má ešte niekto? Tak mám ja teda jednu. Pekka, if my info is correct, you were named Cyclist of the Year 2021. So I wonder, what did you have to do to become one?
For example, this. So I've been involved in this, especially winter maintenance planning, bicycle planning, and so on for a long time now. So
Thanks for doing it.
Thank you so much.
To bol Pekka Tahkola. Ďakujeme.